defense. They really had some key stops.
Welcome back and good evening, America.
Speaking of Joe Biden and his future as president,
Pioneers had a very clean game.
The next meeting will be Monday, February 8th.
Leaving millions without electricity and record-breaking cold.
Hello, Pioneers, and welcome back to your National News Show. I'm Lauren Barrett.
And I'm Ty Martin. Thanks for tuning in. And just like last time, we decided to turn this show into a more informative show about Russia and Ukraine.
That's right, Ty. And just like last week, we're going to throw in some other news stories before we turn it over to Mr. Tressler and Abby Ryan to tell us more. But for now, let's kick things off with this week's top stories.
4 men accused of conspiring to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer in 2020 are heading to trial with an opening statements beginning Wednesday. Adam Fox, Barry Croft, Daniel Harris, and Brandon Costera face federal charges on conspiring to kidnap the Democratic governor.
Now, let's throw it over to myself regarding AIDS and HIV. Hey Pioneers, March 20th is HIV and AIDS Awareness. So today, I wanted to take the time to break misconceptions and explain how the immune deficiency affects the body. HIV is the virus that causes AIDS. However, people with HIV do not always have AIDS. HIV in humans originated from Central African chimpanzees. These animals used to be hunted and started the spread of HIV when humans came in contact with their infected blood. Studies show that the infection jumped from chimpanzees to humans as far back as the 1800s. The most common way for HIV to be transmitted is through any sexual act. However, it can also be transmitted through dirty needles, syringes, other drug injection equipment, pre-chewed food, biting, as well as deep open mouth kissing. HIV and AIDS have many misconceptions, but here are just a few. First, many believe that HIV and AIDS is only contracted in homosexual individuals. This is simply incorrect. HIV is a sexually transmitted disease that can be more commonly found in male individuals. However, it can be contracted in women and any sexual active relationships. And second, many think once you are diagnosed with HIV, you have a short time to live. People all around us are living with HIV, taking medicine to lessen symptoms. Symptoms include fever, swollen lymph nodes, diarrhea, weight loss, oral yeast infection, shingles, and pneumonia. In more recent news, Moderna has started human trials on their new HIV vaccine. This is the first of its kind, and we are hoping for positive results. Even if this vaccine fails in trial, this is the important step in the right direction to help fight against HIV and AIDS. That is all I have for you guys today, Pioneers. Back to the news desk.
Tom Brady's retirement lasted 40 days. Brady said Sunday he is returning to Tampa Bay Buccaneers for his 23rd season in the NFL. The 7-time Super Bowl champion announced his decision on Twitter and Instagram, saying he has, quote, unfinished business.
Now let's throw it over to Abby Ryan and Mr. Tressler to give us an update on Russia and Ukraine.
Hello Pioneers, my name is Abby Ryan. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I'm joined by world history teacher Mr. Tressler. And just like last week and the week before that, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into pressing stories dealing with Russia and Ukraine. So let's get into some questions. First, as we kind of see gas prices soar, a lot of people immediately jump to the issues going on in Russia and Ukraine as a main factor for that. Would you kind of say that correlation is accurate?
Yes and no. I think that you have, OPEC, which is controlling the oil prices, and you've seen an uptick over the last 16 to 20 months, but you have seen a sharper increase, obviously, since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So, yes, it does have an accurate increase, but it also has been upticking since before that.
Okay. Kind of going to the next question. The United States announced last week they will cut all oil ties with Russia. Do you think cutting things like oil trade will put kind of a target on the United States back?
I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to really put the pressure on Russia economically. It's the same thing that's happening with us and the Chinese, trying to get the Chinese to basically say, don't help them out, don't support them. Basically, the same thing with them joining the EU and the European Union, just basically trying to press them economically. Rather than having something be handled militarily, they're trying to economically, basically get them out of the Ukraine.
Kind of put them in a corner, yeah. The next question. Last week we talked with Mr. Mathis a little more about logistics of the draft, and obviously he kind of mentioned it wasn't an immediate issue.
Sure.
But if we were to have a draft and if the ruling were to be overturned, what are the logistics of doing that?
Again, you're going to have to get your able-bodied, anyone over the age of 18. They have a general physical that they're going to do, and making sure that you meet those standards. Now, there's different times where if you were a conscientious objector, you could have that, but then you would have to prove that you were a conscientious objector, which was extremely hard. And we're talking about Vietnam and things of that nature. But having said this, I don't think that we are to that point, and I think that militarily things have changed where it's not necessarily the number of the Army, but the technology. But again, there's always a possibility that could ultimately go to that. But as someone who was 21 years old when September 11th happened and felt the same thing, I don't think we're trending that way.
What do you think would happen in the government? Like, what would Congress and the Senate have to do in order for that ruling to be overturned?
Well, I think that, they're going, you'd have to have bipartisan support. Both sides would have to want to say, listen, we need those numbers. We need our young people to be a part of that. And then, of course, then you have the social aspect of it where there are people that would be serving because they have chosen to, and then people who have been drafted and not wanted to. And so then you'll have that social divide even within the military aspect of it.
Interesting. Okay. Going back to last week one more time.
Sure.
We talked a lot about economic implications. Just with Russia specifically, do you think the war that's going on shows weakness in Russia that we didn't initially see even before they invaded Ukraine?
I think what you're seeing is the progress of Russia becoming a democracy. I think that when we saw saw the collapse of the Soviet Union, a lot of people were like, oh, they're a democracy now. And I think that, you have the former head of the KGB, Vladimir Putin, who has been in charge, for an extended period of time. And I think that what he does is he just tries to, rile the people up of Russia to try to basically divert from some of the things that they're lacking economically, socially, things of that nature. And he tries to really kind of grow this idea again of the new Soviet Union, but I don't think that we are to that place. And one of the things I had a conversation with people about is what's his why? There's no, economically, there's no reason for Ukraine, things like that. It's just simply to extend this war and try to basically extend his power.
The last question, what sort of implications do you think this will play for the United States, not just Russia and Ukraine? But a lot of people are throwing around the term stagflation. Mm-hmm. Do you think that has any realness to it, or do you think that's just sort of something people have come up with and they're like, that sounds like a good term to use?
I think economically, there's a lot more going on than just what's happened with Russia and Ukraine, and I think that, what you're seeing happen in the last 2 years, $6 trillion going into the economy through CARES Act money and things of that nature has more to do with our economic struggles. Getting back to work has to do more with our economic struggles than the invasion of Russia and Ukraine. Certainly at the gas pump, we have seen that, in the slight uptick, but I think that there's a lot more that goes into the economic implications of that rather than just Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Let's throw it back over to Lauren and Ty.
Thanks, Abby. Well, Pioneers, that is all we have for you today. For The Juice, I'm Lauren Barrand.
And I'm Ty Martin. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Direction of Democratic Governor Newsom.
Next up, let's talk club meeting.
On Tuesday, girls volleyball faced off against Dublin.
Tomorrow, wear your favorite jersey. On Wednesday,
schedule for Wednesday, August 25th has been changed to be virtual.